Hey y'all, hope you're doing well today. So in today's message, I want to expand a little bit more on my previous discussion, but it's going to be presented in such a way that if you didn't see the last video, it's okay. The message can stand alone on its own today, so I just want to share that with you. But essentially, we're going to be talking mostly about boundaries, not just I'm trying to put a different spin on the topic of boundaries so that it can actually resonate on a deep level to be useful, to transform our perception of what it means to truly set a boundary that is going to actually bring results. And so I like to think of this like through the lens of energetic boundaries, okay? So that's what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to be talking a little bit more about enmeshment. I'll probably need to make additional videos on that specifically alone, just to be able to give it the time that it really deserves. And so anyway, I hope that you guys enjoy the presentation today. So let's start off by talking about the term boundary, okay? And I looked this up on the online etymology dictionary. It says a boundary is that which indicates the limits of anything. The limits, okay? A bound being the limit or furthest point of extension of any one thing. And then the term bound from the late 14th century, meaning limits of an estate or territory. All right, so there's a related term that popped up when I was looking at this, that's edge, okay, meaning the corner, point, or sword, from the Proto-Indo-European root ak, meaning to be sharp or to rise out to a point or pierce. So I really I enjoy studying words like that because it just brings another level of meaning to a particular topic, right? So the issue with enmeshed families or groups, workplaces, whatever it is, friendships even, is that we're so accommodating to this other person that, you know, at times it feels great because you just feel such a closeness. You can feel such a closeness with a friend like this, for example, but it can also be toxic because somewhere in the process you lose yourself. And when there's a person that's within an enmeshed family or environment that has bad intentions, okay, that wants to exploit other people's openness, okay, because they're a willing participant in this enmeshed environment, okay, even if it's, I say willing, but a lot of times I think we can find ourselves in these situations and it's not necessarily like a conscious thing. We don't really realize it, especially like if you grew up in a family like this, you don't know any different. So you're just it's kind of like when you're born into a family, you're placed in this role, and you learn what your parents and even your siblings and cousins and grandparents and everybody's expectations of you are. You learn what they are, and so you're kind of like placed in this role. And as a child, you don't really have a say so, you know. You don't know that you have a say-so. You don't know that a lot of times you don't know that there are other people that you can go to for help because, again, you don't have any other life experiences to give you perspective. So a lot of times you don't even know that it's a toxic environment. I say that, but, you know, it's kind of like you don't know logically, but there's we have those bodily reactions. There's like this higher wisdom, this deeper knowing where, you know, we finally grow up and understand why you know, we have these particular aspects to our personality that are, you know, we consider less desirable, and we understand that they developed as a coping mechanism to survive many years within a toxic family or situation, right? It just we were conditioned in that manner. And so this is just a really heavy topic. We could just talk on it for a long time, but I just want to, you know, pause here and point out, you know, that's the issue in an enmeshed family or environment or group, whatever, is that there are no boundaries between the people. And when you have a controlling person that's kind of lording over this enmeshed group. If you're able to separate yourself and get away and gain perspective because of that, a lot of times you can see how this particular person is benefiting from everybody else, just unfortunately being like in a doormat type position. Because they love this person so much, they're willing to tolerate things that a lot of other people would never tolerate. And so perspective is key, is crucial, and you get to the place where you can see that the issue, like I said, is that there really aren't any boundaries. Okay, nobody's putting their foot down, and in fact, it's such a mess. If it's been a situation that's been what it is for many years, it's I think that people are just so ingrained in their role within that enmeshed environment that it's going to take a lot to determine what their boundaries are, each person. Like, who am I apart from this group or apart from this other person? And so it's absolutely necessary to have some time alone to be able to determine that, because anybody that's a controlling person in that kind of environment is going to see your withdrawal as like a threat, right? They're not going to like it because you can't be controlled anymore. And so like I said, we can expand on that later, but I want to focus more on the boundaries today. It's you do sort of have to get to the point where you develop an edge to yourself, so that's teaching a controlling person that you do in fact have a territory. You do in fact have authority over yourself and ownership over your own being. Your time, your effort, your decisions, everything about your life. You're going to have to, at some point, to be free truly, you're going to have to define your edges. And they're going to be these people who are controlling and exploiting you, your kindness and your giving nature, and your tolerance and patience and all this. They're going to react to your edges like they are in fact sharp, like you just pulled a sword out, and you're just like waving it all around. That's how they're going to react to you. And so they're going to see you in a new light. You're going to be sharp in that manner, and it's a good thing. But I just caution you. I would never encourage you to if you know a person has the potential to be dangerous, I would certainly never encourage you to try to provoke a person like that whatsoever, because safety is a priority. But so I looked up the term energy because, like I said, we want to focus on energetic boundaries today. And excuse me, from the 1590s, it was listed in the online etymology dictionary as force of expression. Energy is a force of expression. Okay, so energetic from the 1650s was noted as being powerful in operation. So if you think about it, if a territory is facing another force, if there's an imposing force coming up on the edge of a territory, doesn't that just kind of bring this imagery to your mind of warfare? Again, which is why I think a lot of people just feel called to consider these kind of personal struggles with other people. It kind of feels like spiritual warfare. You feel this energetic force from some people. They just feel so forceful in their dominating nature and their controlling nature, even if it's just with their eyes or with their presence. It's just so controlling, and it's so elusive with some people. They call these people covert narcissists sometimes. I think that there may even be more sociopaths and psychopaths that are dangerous, that could possibly be a part of our lives, and they're undiagnosed. So you never know how dangerous a person can be, which is why, like I said, you never really want to intentionally draw a sword metaphorically, or try to provoke someone. I just don't think that's a wise thing to do. But when I'm talking through all these things, I'm talking through this and sharing it with you for you to get clear, hopefully to bring clarity to your mind, okay? So you feel this energetic force from some people, you know, sometimes. And I think that if you've been entangled with someone who is dominating, and you've been in their presence, feeling this strong, negative, controlling, dominating force coming from this person for so long, it can kind of make you automatically and unconsciously respond to that. You're feeling that dominating force, and it's almost like it places you almost automatically through the conditioning process to feel like you are in an inferior or a losing position when you're not. So the first thing to me is to shift our perception of when we do in fact pick up on another's energetic force that kind of raises, you know, it should raise concern. It should ring alarm bells. It should be like red flags popping up for us. That should be what happens, instead of immediately cowering. You know what I mean? So if you've been conditioned to immediately cower and succumb and to whatever this person's demands are, whatever it is, just take note of that. Notice when you do tend to fold your shoulders over, whatever it is, or look down, or just start people pleasing immediately, or, you know, do you start to feel fear? You know, what is it? Take notice of that. You may be way beyond this, depending on where you are. You know, if you've already left a bad situation and you've done a lot of work on yourself already, on your healing path. I don't know where you are, but I just want to mention this, like in the early stages, in case someone is seeing this video at that point on their path. But definitely the first stage is to take note, and then from there you want to make a conscious effort to not fold over, or to cower, or to be fearful, and also to mentally not allow conditioning to override logic to make you feel inferior in any way, okay? So what we can start to do, even within our own mind, is to do the opposite. Once we notice conditioned behaviors within ourselves, that these people who have possibly been in control of us for so long, if they have conditioned us to be a certain way, then when we start to behave differently, they may, you know, come at us even stronger, and so that's where I just caution you. But the biggest thing is to have a different response to what used to bring you intimidation or fear or whatever it is within your mind. I've even heard other people say that they've had success to play along like they normally would respond, but in their mind and heart they have woken up to what the situation really is, and so they played along for their own safety for some time period, okay? Just some things to consider. I just certainly encourage you to go to the appropriate authorities and professionals if you are in a situation that's really sticky like this, okay? I'm just giving you things to think about. Here's the thing. Anytime we think that there's any way we can set boundaries and continue to stay in an enmeshed or any kind of toxic situation, we're still giving that scenario energy by staying, okay? I mean, the Bible talks about walking away, giving people so many chances, and then walking away, and it even says to shake the dirt off and shake the dust off and just keep going. You know what I'm saying? So we're encouraged to not waste our life away and place ourselves in danger. So I feel like the traditional lens applied to the concept of boundaries this is what I've heard a lot of different people say, is that they're not for the other person, because they're not going to do what you ask them to do, right? They're accustomed to you doing what they want you to do. So, they're not just going to willingly, flip that around and start, being like, okay, yeah, I won't do this or that anymore. So boundaries, yeah, they're not for the other person. But I've heard that they are to define what you will and won't tolerate, right? The boundaries that you create are for you. In other words, I heard one example as, if you do this, then I will do this. Like, if you are rude to me in this manner, I will leave the room. Well, I'm not saying that's wrong, and I'm not saying that's not effective. But what I am saying, that for me, I view this as you're still making yourself vulnerable to being entertainment for someone who gets off on that kind of stuff. Entertainment for someone who is, I think the term is sadistic. People who just like to poke at you for fun. These are grown people that are bullies, that act like they're children. And it's kind of like we know that they have an issue, and we just try to love them anyway. Excuse me. And we don't understand in the process of doing that, it's not good for us, to tolerate and tolerate and tolerate. So I don't care for that way to perceive boundaries personally. I just don't. So I'm gonna share with you what works for me. Because here's the thing, what I'm trying to say is any method of engagement with a narcissistic type person is still being stuck. It's still wasting your energy, okay? They want to go back and forth with you, like, oh, okay, you're gonna leave the room if I'm rude to you again, even though I've already apologized and shown you that I didn't mean that I really was sorry, and I kept doing it, and now if I do it, you're gonna leave the room. This is cool. Let me see if I can make them leave the room in 10 minutes from now. You know what I mean? So that's how I view it. So they want to go back and forth with you. It's very immature. It's wasting your time. You could be living a peaceful, joyful life instead of this kind of stuff, right? So how should we frame the concept of energetic boundaries? Energetic boundaries. Let me share with you all this book. I'm not going to read it, but this is a little kid's book. I taught elementary school art for 6 years in a public school, and I really, really loved it. And I learned a lot from the children, just like on that kids show I mentioned a lot on my channel, Bluey, where the parents learn from their kids. You can certainly learn from children. They're just straightforward and honest by nature. And so this book is cool because it's about art. And what happens is, I'm just going to give you a quick summary, okay? So this main character here, what's her name? Vashti, okay? She was real moody when she went into art class, and the assignment was to paint something. It's been many years since I've looked at this, right? But she just really didn't want to do it. And so she just, she was pouting the way kids usually do a lot of times here or there. And she just put a little dot on the paper. She was like, there, I'm done. And pushed it off to the teacher, right? And the teacher's like, okay. And so she asks her to sign it, which she didn't expect. So she signed her name to it, And see, we all know, because of the way the story is presented in the book, that it's not like she was a little kid that didn't know what to do and she tried her best. That's not the situation. She did the bare minimum. She did it out of frustration. She didn't even want to do what she was supposed to do, the right thing and all this stuff, right? So she was real immature in that manner, right? Rightfully so. She's a kid. But we're going to expand on this to help us understand how to handle an immature adult, okay? That we've been tolerating, that we don't need to tolerate anymore, so that we can live our best life. Okay, so the teacher says, okay, sign your name, and she does, and she frames it and she hangs it up. So little Vashti comes back into art class, and she sees her picture framed and hanging up, and she's like, oh, well, I can do better than that. See? And that starts the process of her actually wanting to grow. Okay. So I want us to be encouraged by this story. And here's what I mean. we have to take the reality of what a narcissistically inclined person in our life is offering us, which is usually the bare minimum, or lies, or insults, or whatever it is. We have to take that and see it the way that teacher saw that little frustrated little dot. And we have to say, okay, in our mind, okay, this is all internal. We have to say, okay, I'm going to sign your name on that as your little, like I just took a snapshot and I captured your character in this moment. And I now have this visualization in my mind, and here's your name signed to that. And I'm going to frame it. Because we have to frame their best. We know it's not their true best, but if they repeatedly treat us a certain way, or if they apologize and don't really mean it, it's like that whole an apology, what's that saying? An apology without changed behavior is no apology at all, really, or is null and void. I forget how it goes, but that's really what it means. And so we have to just take it for what it is and solidify that in our minds, like frame it and really just like hang it up in this gallery within our mind of, okay, I see it for what it is. Okay. The thing is, they're banking on us not doing that. They're banking on us hanging on to hope that things will change. Okay, there's a term that's used a lot in the community online with regards to narcissism, which is future faking, and it's kind of like that whole like apologizing thing, putting it off, like, I'm so sorry, but they keep doing it, so just keep putting it off, like in the future. See, and so they're banking on us just being willing to look out here at some point in the unforeseen future, see, as them doing the right thing, so that they feel like they're allowed to not do the right thing right now. Okay, and our hoping, placing our focus way out here in some unforeseen future, that's what keeps us stuck. Okay, and what are we stuck in? It's a game. It's their game. But see, we're not playing a game. We're just trying to live our life. Okay, so acceptance. It goes back to that Bible verse: a tree is known by the fruit it bears. Okay, we need to take a picture of what that fruit is in our own mind's eye, okay, and frame it and see it every morning. We need to wake up in the morning before we're exposed to these people, and we need to just take a quick visit, quick little walkthrough in our mind of our gallery and look at those framed pictures of the fruits of all these people we know. Okay, so in my yoga teacher training, I mentioned to you guys last time that I started that recently, they were talking about the chakras today. And the heart chakra in particular, how it's related to energy. And it got me to thinking about what it means to have an open heart. Like I'm a visual person, so I'm imagining like our heart like literally opening, and light and love going back and forth, the way it should in a reciprocal relationship or friendship, whatever it is, right? If you think about it, just in your mind visually with me here, if your heart is open, you have this opening, then theoretically it would be able to both give and receive love, right? Or good vibes, or whatever you want to call it, positive energy. If we visualize this with these people, then we can see how this good energy, this love, is flowing out, but it's not being reciprocated. When we visualize this like as an opening, then it helps me, and when we frame something, it's like it solidifies it. So those are just two little tools that you can use, visualization tools, okay, to just bring this stuff down deeper, gain a deeper understanding, till you get to the point where you truly can embrace acceptance, because that's where change is going to happen in your life. Okay, so I want to consider cameras for a minute. All right, so I did photography back in my college days. It was a lot of fun. I actually did some wedding photography and nature photography. I really loved it. But life just took me in a different direction. You know, it became a hobby. Excuse me. But, you know, I did some manual photography. I developed film in a dark room. It was really fun. All right, so, you know, if you think about a camera lens, you know, like taking that snapshot of the fruit a person bears to frame in your mind. If you think about a camera lens, well, let's back up here. The term to frame from the mid 13th century and late 14th century, the meanings are to make ready or to prepare timber for building, right? Frame can be used in a lot of ways, obviously, that term, but let's just take those meanings, okay? To make ready or to prepare timber for building. So when you're taking a snapshot and with the camera of your mind and heart, right, on these people's fruit, and you're like, I'm just going to call it what it is. I'm going to frame it in my mind in this gallery, and I'm going to look at it regularly before I just expose myself to you and the conditioning that I have been a victim to for many years, or whatever it is, because we can just unconsciously fall right back into that conditioning, see? So we're wanting to take charge, take authority over our lives, and we can do that by first and foremost, you know, we kind of have to break that conditioning pattern that's automatic in our minds by reminding ourselves of what the truth really is. That's what I mean by taking a snapshot of a person's fruit. A tree is known by the fruit it bears, okay? Let's take a picture. Let's put their name on it and frame it in our mind, okay? So I thought that was cool, because you're going to take all these frames and it's going to make you ready, and it's going to prepare you for building a better future, okay? So you're creating a new foundation in your mind and heart for your new perception of them as well. So before any energetic boundaries can be created, we have to align our perceptions with truth. It's absolutely critical. All right? You know, in trying to maintain a relationship, friendship with people like this, they wanted us to pretend that we were in a certain role and they were in a certain role. If you think about it, it's like they wanted us to be a person who is very tolerant and patient, and you know, that we overlook faults to such a degree that we don't see any faults in them whatsoever. That's what they wanted out of us. And they tried to present this facade, you know, even to us, by gaslighting us, you know, when we're like, hey, wait a second, that's not cool. And then they try to spin it like it's our fault, you know, so they're trying to paint this picture of who they are too, which is not reality, right? And you're certainly not meant to be a doormat, okay? Or a bank for someone, or whatever it is, you know? You're not meant to live your life to be used. So these are like false realities. And so what you're doing is you're realigning your mind and heart with the reality. That's what you're doing. So when you realize, going back to that visualization of the heart, and, you know, the heart being open, right? It's like you realize that you can regulate your openness, okay? Or your love outpouring from your heart by treating it like the way a camera works. So like you have this lens, this camera lens, okay? It's like an eye, you know, it opens and it closes. And sometimes it blinks really fast, and sometimes it blinks, you know, it's really wide and it blinks slow. And so it's all about regulating light. It's really interesting. You have the function of aperture and speed. Aperture is the width, how open the camera lens is. And then you have the speed, the shutter speed, okay? And both of them are called parts of exposure. And it's all about this influx of light. It's all about light. So I thought that was a really cool metaphor to use here for what we're talking about, okay? The act of exposing reality to light. All right? So I think we need to take to heart that it can't be sheer willpower in setting boundaries and getting free of toxic situations. It just can't. there has to be an adjustment in your mind and in your heart. Okay? So think of it like an adjustment to exposure, okay, within your own perceptions of reality. So we have to assess situations thoroughly enough to know what adjustments to make, okay, and starting by capturing reality, framing it in our mind, and looking at it at the start of every day before being exposed to these people is a great starting point, okay? In the end, once you've gotten a clear enough image of reality, the roles each of you were in, which is, like I was just talking about, then you can logically say that you were just incompatible. It's kind of like you can say, you wanted me to play this role and I did, and you were trying to present yourself as playing this role, but it wasn't really true, but I played along like it was. So you have to just kind of remove all that. You have to, strip off the fig leaves. You have to just call things for what they really are. And I think a lot of times people don't do it because they're fearful of, what's my alternative? What would my life be like if I didn't have these people in my life, or whatever it is? But you got to have faith. You got to have faith that if you're alone, it's okay. And if you've been in a toxic situation, firsthand, and I can say this myself, there's no lonelier place to be than with someone who is just completely invalidating and inconsiderate of you. So, if you think about the evolution of cameras too, I thought this was kind of cool to bring into the discussion here. The old cameras, like 35 millimeter and all this, they were film cameras, right? And if you think about this outpouring of your energy and your time and your love, you might think of it like film and a camera, there's only so much. And every time that lens is opened and exposing, light to the scene, and it's being captured on the film, there's another frame, another photograph on the negatives that's been taken up, and it's going to run out. So, and the other thing about the old cameras, they had loud clicks. So, like when you're trying to take pictures, at a wedding, it's like click, 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 click. It's just so loud. So I'm dating myself for sure right now, but anyway. So, and then the new cameras, the digital cameras, what I love about that is, see, there's a quick, immediate determination of the scene. Like, here's what I mean. On the old cameras, you had to, especially if it was manual, you had to work with it. You had to expend a lot of time getting, your shutter speed, your aperture just right to try and accommodate for this lack of light. Okay, you're just accommodating for this lack of light, and sometimes you waste your film because you don't know what the outcome's going to be till you take the picture, and then you develop your film, then you get to see your outcome. So it's like you spend a lot of wasted time, okay? But the newer cameras, you don't even have film. It's immediate. It's digital. And it, when they're automatic anyway, they assess the situation for you, and they can identify if a particular scene, scenario, whatever it is, doesn't even have enough light to produce a sufficient picture. And a lot of times you'll just get like an error. If it's automatic, it's going to be like, can't take the picture. It's going to say something like that. If it's manual, it'll still take a picture and be like, okay, if you just really want a picture with nothing on it, here you go. But a lot of times if it's automatic, it's like, no, it's not going to work. It's not going to work. It's not going to work. I want you to consider this evolution of cameras as the evolution of your intuition, your alignment with your intuition, and your discernment. Okay? Because in the beginning, when we don't have experienced, mature, and sharpened discernment, we are in fact willing to waste a lot of time and just hoping that we're going to get the right picture one of these days, and we're going to spin our wheels in that manner. And then as we learn our skill, we refine our discernment, it truly does become more of an immediate process. We can sense that energetic haughtiness or dominance or threat, whatever it is, even if they're friendly, it just doesn't feel right. Whatever it is, we can sense this energetically, and it's kind of like that digital camera saying, you know, there's not any light here. It's like you're looking for that spiritual signature in another person. You know, the one that says there's good vibes here, the one that says there's light here. And so we're going to evolve, just like the cameras, where we can automatically assess people and not waste our time, and that will serve as our protection in that manner. Okay, so and two, you know, it's cool because the new cameras, the digital cameras, are silent, so you don't have to make a big fuss about it. You know what I mean? It's kind of like totally in alignment with our situations. If you because of not being aware, you have found yourself in a sticky situation, it's kind of like you can't really get out of that as easy without a big fuss. Sometimes you try your best. I encourage you to try your best, but as you refine your discernment and you're meeting new people in life, you can just kind of fade away. And once you see a person is doesn't have the same kind of ethics as you, or whatever it is, there's an issue there. They're not an honest person, they're a deceitful person, whatever it is, it's just going to be a silent kind of process where you just move on. So I hope that this discussion on energetic boundaries has given you some things to think about. It is a process. It is a process. Certainly not a checklist, something we can just go down and just do these particular steps and it's done. But I hope that all the metaphors I've given you today about, you know, taking a snapshot and framing it in the gallery in your mind and heart, and the discussion about the heart, the opening in the heart, and the flow outward and inward of light and good energy, and the camera analogy. I hope all of that has just has opened some kind of or has illuminated some new puzzle pieces for you. And I hope that you're able to put them together and just gain, even if it's just a little bit more understanding, something that's going to be beneficial for you. I hope that it did that for you. So thanks so much for coming along to hear the message. I hope that you have a beautiful day, and I'll see you again very soon.